Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
Stugotz and Greg Cody know this better than most. This show is a bit of a bucking bronco. For example, Chris Cody forgot to just turn my microphone on.
That's debatable.
Free agency, Dan.
And, well, but hold on. So, yes, it is a bucking bronco, but I often feel like the UNLV football coach whose video I cannot play anymore in good conscience because it's not a fun cushion. It is a concussion, and he got hit in the head, and he was concussed. I right now am between the bucking bronco months of Greg Cody's a star in Vegas, hee-haw 3 rules, and the playoffs that are coming, Heat and Panthers. Oh, my God. A storm is coming, and we are going to have to ride this out over the next few months. It's going to be unpleasant. Mike is going to be really emotional all over the place. He hates Terry Rozier in a way that's not reasonable. But today, what I have is something I did not have during yesterday's show. During yesterday's show, I left the studio, and as soon as I left, football pinged into my life in a way that I hadn't noticed just how gone it had been. The money's over here. This guy's over there.
You can tamper. I mean,
it was unbelievable. So I'm going to release the bull and hope we don't get concussed here. That was crazy yesterday, and I didn't see it coming.
Dan, hate is a strong word.
Not strong enough.
I don't want to talk about Terry Rozier. We're going to talk about
makes two of us.
We're going to talk about
you brought him up.
The Panthers in a second, just because the only reason I brought him up is because Mike's been off for 3 days. He comes in here like a bucking bronco. He has opinions on everything, like the Minnesota Wild.
I worked for 8 hours on Sunday. It's just one day.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fine.
But
how much Minnesota Wild talk did I miss?
You missed it all.
Really? You saved it?
Yeah, we saved it.
Oh, my
Saved
God.
it for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
John Hines.
Huh?
Oh, my God, pal.
57.
Rule 84-2.
Uh-huh.
I'll get back to that in a second. But the
Are you sure?
That's all he has. I mean.
No, it's not all he has. Trust me, it is not all he has. He when he was working 8 hours with Adnan and Sampson and Ben Lyons on Sunday to produce an uncommon event for us because we don't usually do that around the movies. He was forcing into the show at every turn and has been talking nonstop for 3 days about a rule he did not know and the risk that the Minnesota Wild took 8 points down by pulling their goalie and risking the loss of a point in overtime in a rule that Mike did not know. And the most flabbergasting thing to Mike in all of sports is him not knowing something.
Right on the head. But more on that later.
Yeah.
Proceed with setting the show
Thank
up.
you. Thank you. Well,
I know what you're trying to do. Set the show up. It's all right.
that's all
I'll
I'm
lay out.
trying to do.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to do is tell you that football went crazy yesterday.
We
And
need to respect you trying to set the show up. Got to lay out for the host.
The addiction arrived again yesterday. You guys had missed it. You were in withdrawal. You didn't know how strong the withdrawal
We
was.
don't have to explore my curiosities whatsoever just because I wasn't here yesterday.
So when I look up yesterday and I'm like, what do you mean Jacobs is moving? I like him. He's a running back. He's great. And I would want him if I was in that league. There are 5 I don't think are disposable. He's one of them. Wait, he's going to Green Bay. They have Aaron Jones. Why would they do that? Aaron Jones is cut. I would want Aaron Jones. Why is Aaron Jones not there? He's a little bit older, but he's cheaper. And now somebody spent money on a running back. And that was one of the 50 interesting things yesterday.
You said Aaron Jones was cut, Dan? Well, now he's not. Aaron Jones, Vikings, 1-year deal.
He's still cut. He's still cut. He goes there.
Not anymore.
He's got a team now.
Yeah, hold on
Okay.
a second. Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Billy. I will give you a stat of the day right now.
Oh, jeez.
It's pretty good because I did not have this a couple of years ago.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day.
Today's stat of the day is brought to you by Venmo and PayPal.
Go back 2 years in your mind, erase all of the last 2 years, and think of what you thought of Russell Wilson, who just sold the most expensive, or has put on sale, the most expensive house in the history of Denver. A 4-bedroom house worth $25 million. 4 bedrooms, 12 baths, indoor pool, movie theater, yoga.
Huh.
4 beds and 12 baths. There's something off there. I don't like
Okay,
that.
but hold on. We'll get back to
12
that if you
beds?
want, but this is not the part of the stat of the day that I'm giving.
Yoga studio, huh?
He's got a yoga studio. He's got it. It seems like a lovely home. Yesterday's contract movement was such that Sam Darnold will now be paid 10 times more by the Vikings than Russell Wilson will be paid by the Steelers to play football next year.
And Sam doesn't have to play.
A 1-year, $10 million deal for Darnold. Russell Wilson's going to get $1.2 million from the Steelers. That's going to be the bargain in the sport, right? Even if he's mediocre.
Yes. Yes. Even if he throws nothing but interceptions, it'll still be
No.
a bargain.
You could. That was your.
Yeah.
No, if he
Just
throws
all
if he
interceptions?
throws
Right.
no, if he throws
That's a
nothing,
waste
it's
of
not
$10
a
million.
bargain. If he throws nothing but interceptions,
Well, how many interceptions?
Based on NFL salaries? Are you kidding me? The former Dolphin guard just signed Robert Hunt signed a $100 million contract.
Guards are back.
Crazy.
I mean,
I want to just note for the audience that C.J. Stroud has a base salary of $900,000.
yep.
it's so important.
What is Brock Purdy's?
You guys realize the stat he just gave you, though, right? It's like we've gotten to the point, well, oh, shit, if you got the money right there, you're good. You're totally good. And now the Dolphins lose all their players because they didn't win in the window. You had to win in the window when you had the quarterback at value. And you got Tyreek Hill for that, and you got Chubb, and you got a bunch of defensive pieces. And now this part I don't get. Like, if I'm a Dolphin fan, I'm pissed here. I really am. I'm angry about this because there was a lot that had to be endured so that the Dolphins could have the draft pick that they would get right with Christian Wilkins. Get it right in every way. Like that guy, we knew he was going to be great. He's great. He got his other defensive tackle paid as well because you can't pay everyone around here. Now he goes to the Raiders, $110 million, $86 million guaranteed. And that's just no matter what you're doing for win now, you cannot justify that decision to me when a maximum professional like that is groomed by you from rebuilding. You got it right, and you have to sell it away when that's an important defensive piece. And he did everything right, including serve you the last year with honor, even though you were insulting him on contract and you risked getting hurt. Like a model professional, Greg, and it pissed me off that they lost him.
Right. They should have tried harder to sign him a year earlier. You're right. But the one thing I would quibble with is that the idea the Dolphins' window is closing. If Tua continues to improve and becomes as good as they think, then the window is open.
It has to be at value, Greg. Like to me, what Mike said.
Well, the Chiefs don't have Mahomes at value anymore.
They
Dan.
still
They're
do.
winning.
Stugotz, he's still cheap now. Stugotz, he's cheap now. Like, don't say I understand that before understanding it. They had Mahomes at one good contract,
Right.
and now they've got him at another contract that represents value.
Yeah,
for him.
because the cap keeps going up, and the cap is projected to go up quite a bit, which is why some of these running back contracts that you see, the spin on it is Tony Pollard at $8 million against the cap now will kind of feel like $4 million against the cap 3 years from now. I think Chris Greer has earned some credibility and patience here. They just cleared $20 million in reworking Jalen Ramsey's deal while they haven't signed anybody yet, and the group chats were all freaking out when Wilkins left. That meant you had to sign Van Ginkel, and Van Ginkel's going to Minnesota with Sam Darnold and Aaron Jones. I think be patient. You don't know. Maybe they add a corner, move Ramsey to safety. They should add a pass rusher because that was a huge issue last year, and it should be noted you can still end up paying the quarterback like Kansas City has, and maintain key pieces. They just re-signed Chris Jones.
That's all I'm saying, Dan. You can still pay your quarterback the big contract and still put together a roster that could win a Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying.
Talking about the cap hit with Patrick Mahomes and how they won in the window. Last year's cap hit was $37 million. This year's cap hit is $58 million for Patrick Mahomes. So you talk about winning in the window, $20 million now that they've re-signed Chris Jones, but there's pieces that are missing on that team, and they still won a Super Bowl.
This is the part, okay? Like this part's super interesting because we'll get lost in the minutia and the frenzy of happiness today, okay? But the model to follow now, After the Patriot Way, 10-part documentary on Apple, because that story's done. No one wants to play for the Patriots anymore. Like, you realize that just happened where they were talking about Patriots wanted Mike Evans. No, thank you. I don't want to go there. Baker Mayfield. No, thank you. I don't want to go there. Both of them choosing the team that Tom Brady brought with him to Tampa, the city, and the Patriots fall apart. And all we're talking about right now is money, and how do you spend the money. And the model in that sport is Kansas City. You lose Tyreek Hill. Somebody else gets good, but you're good because you've got quarterback, and you've got quarterback at value. And now everybody knows it, and everything's built around him. Look, man, Mahomes wants in this ownership game, too, with the Royals and everything he's doing. He wants to compete. He's learning now what all of the former quarterback broadcasters out there, like the Aikmans and the Mannings and the Bradys, Mahomes is in ownership now. He has learned at the knee of all these people. He's a two-time champion. He can build that for a decade, working in partnership with his franchise the way Brady did. Yeah. You can restructure me here. You can do this here. I'm making enough money. We're all winning here, and I don't want to go anywhere else because I got an A-plus coach, but they're going to have to fix those facilities, and they're going to have to fix that ownership because Mahomes isn't going to stay quiet on where that power is because he knows he's got it. He flexed on the league after Kaepernick, and the knee, like they bent. Goodell bent when he's got real power now.
And now racism's over.
That's right. He solved that, too. You can't put – what's that
racism.
Under the salary cap? What's that worth? Solved racism. They could take it out of the end zones. But yesterday, what was the most interesting parts of this, Stugotz? Because I haven't seen this part. Billy, you saw this. You saw the flicker, and it's always good when the old flame comes back to the old Warhorse champion. God bless football. Crushed it at the Super Bowl.
I haven't felt like this since Joe Mauer made it into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, look, I saw the crust fall off of Stugotz this morning, and he roared to life and shocked me with it because it was like an old spark in the bedroom. He's like, Dan, I've got winners and losers from yesterday.
Oh, do I? Top 5 winners, top 5 losers.
Wow.
I have to start there. I'm sorry it took me so long.
We still have the Wild to get to.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, when are you going to shut up about it? Like, what do I need
We've never seen it before. We all learned that was a rule. You pull the goalie, you run the risk of losing the point that you would get if you lost in overtime. Ballsiest thing I've ever seen.
That is crazy. 84 point what?
Rule dash 84.2.
Good.
See, he's a hero now because it worked, but it was a dumb decision by him. Coach, this will not become a trend.
They're 8 points.
They're
8 points down. What Mike's point is, you're just playing.
If you need the two,
you're just having fun with mathematics. Like, yeah, I know the odds aren't good, but I need to make up 8 points, and it's going to be hard to make up 8 points no matter how much we gamble.
To your point earlier in the show, it is not every day you can get one past old Mike Ryan.
That's right.
And John Hines of the Minnesota Wild, he alerted me to this rule that you could totally expose and gain advantage. It is ballsy, though. I mean, there's no goalie there. But 4-on-3 is a much bigger advantage than your conventional 6-on-5.
Yeah.
Chris Cody, are you ready? Do you have sound effects for? I mean, the old giant is roaring back to life. It's like seeing Godzilla win an Oscar. Like I couldn't believe what rose up this morning from the sea. Winners and losers from yesterday. Greg Cody, you write for the Miami Herald, have for many years, the football column. Did you write off of all of the transactions yesterday? Because the Dolphins lost big yesterday in the frenzy if you're doing the first day of free agency. The first day of free agency shouldn't matter, but all of a sudden we're doing a lot of accounting. like one of the fascinating things about what this football transaction shit has become is the idea that all of us are now math experts on the salary cap because we're all doing finances with what the transactions are, because you cannot convince me that Jacobs is worth more than Jones at those contracts, but I'm not the one who's professional enough to know what those value assignments are. Like, I can't do it. I don't know how to tell you. Like, I love Jacobs. We're all watching the disposable running back. I love watching Jacobs run, but Aaron Jones behind that offensive line made Jordan Love look pretty special. I'd value that.
Certainly you would value that, but I think what you're looking at is you're looking at the situation where a team has the quarterback, Jordan Love, on a rookie contract. So any running back's going to kind of look good in that situation.
Well, LaFleur has proven throughout his time
He's
in the
great.
NFL that
Yes.
he can design a run game with the
Yes.
best of them. The
Right.
chokehold that this sport has on America is something to behold, because we thought it had plateaued a couple of years ago. The sport was actually at an inflection point, and now it's bigger than ever. Globally, it is also getting bigger. You have really smart leadership within the NFL that realizes their footprint is growing. And look at this. On a day where 6 teams are alive for the President's Trophy in the NHL, what are we talking about? Austin Ekeler to the Commanders.
By the way, this is the time of year in the NFL when even casual fans are acutely aware that their team was $21 million under the cap yesterday, and now they're $4.5 million with play money, with over the cap. It's crazy.
But symbolically, what just happened there felt really cold to me. Where old-timey Greg Cody, football writer from the past, comes
From
in
the past.
complaining about the money.
He's still doing it.
And
I
no,
mean.
but look at what just happened there. Mike snuck in some, and it might not be news to everyone listening to this, but just snuck in. Wait a minute, what? Austin Ekeler to the Commanders, and it hurt me on behalf of Billy and Stugotz. They made Austin Ekeler a star. He was a bigger media star than
Well,
he
he
was.
made himself
I
a
don't
star,
know about
right?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think fantasy football might
I
have
think
helped.
he
Good
did.
fan.
Did a lot
his
of work
part.
before we met him, you know.
Yeah.
But you guys
Say
had
equal
Were
part.
you
You guys
guys
carried him over the hump.
were you heartbroken for
We drove
him?
him into the ground, if anything.
He did have a bad year by his standards.
Yeah,
He did, yeah.
Bad contract.
Well, that's not a great contract for him. 2 years for the Commanders. None of us would want to do that.
No.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Do you want to carry the football for 2 years for the Commanders? He's been death sentenced.
I'd take $11 million to tote the rock for the
No, you would
Commanders.
not.
I have a
yes,
theory.
I would. $11 million.
20 carries a game, Stugotz? Wait a minute.
I would pay to see
Wait a
that.
minute. Wait a minute. Let's hold on.
He's not saying he'd survive.
Right.
Let's examine this part for just a second. You think you take a season worth of running back hits where you have to play the position. You
Oh.
can't just fall on the ball each time.
It could last a game. He could get hurt immediately,
Right.
and
would.
still get paid.
I would
guaranteed
fake an
money.
injury. Yeah.
You think you're going to get the full guaranteed money faking an injury.
It's not 1 year, it's 2 years running the football for $11 million.
Okay, did you hurt for him yesterday? Were you heartbroken for him as your friend? As a friend, he's become a friend of your show.
No, I wasn't heartbroken. I was surprised that he went to Washington based on some of the things he told me and Billy leading up to free agency, but he got $11 million on a 2-year deal. He has told us before he likes to keep the contracts, at least moving forward. He wants to keep the contracts in terms of years. He wants to keep them short because he's not certain when he wants to retire. He's not certain what he wants to do in his post-football career life.
He had bad luck in terms of he had his worst career season last year. He was derailed by injuries. Even when he came back, he wasn't, great because you could tell that the injuries were still there. And there was a lot of free agent running backs. So, I think he took what he could get. I have a theory, though, that I wasn't going to do on air, but we're here, so I'll do it here amongst friends. Who's a part owner of the Washington Commanders now?
Who?
Magic Johnson. Yeah,
Mm.
and Austin Ekeler has always been setting himself up for life after football.
For business.
Making business connections, kind of networking with people. That's not a bad contact to have.
Okay, so you are right now. That sounded like a Dookie bomb. That sounded.
I would never. I said this is not for air. For the record, not for air.
He dropped the dookie.
Apparently it was for air.
Well, no, just bleep all of that out in
You
post.
said it on air, though.
I'm
do
just
that,
talking
sorry.
amongst
Yeah, I can't do that.
friends.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So he's cozying up to Magic, which I didn't even think about that, but I
didn't-
think you're right.
I didn't
Right.
say he's cozying up. I'm just saying, he's a man who is focused on business also, and it's not a bad person to have in your corner.
Okay, so can we explore this part of it for a second? Because Austin Ekeler, first time he came on our radar, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years ago, had some of the same savvy back then that Kelsey had, where he realized pretty quickly, I'm younger, I have a space here of people that will follow me if I make myself interesting on the internet. And Ekeler has been business interested. I mean, look at what we're talking about yesterday and the grinding at that particular position. You got about 7 years to earn, kid. And you're going to be really lucky if you get those 7 years because your body's going to break, even though Stugotz thinks he can do it for a season for $11 million a year.
2 seasons.
2 seasons.
For $5.5 million a year.
Okay, so Ekeler, I've called him a scatback even though he's not, but I think of him as smaller even though I know how muscular he is. That game does savage things to the body, and you've got a very short period of time to make the money. Ekeler saw what Iguodala has seen and what a lot of these guys saw where, if I'm most relevant as a media person if I'm in the game. Because as soon as I get out of the game, man, there are a lot of people competing in that space. And now the marketplace dictates what all your worth is. But if I can make myself a media person, man, that's what Ryan Clark did. I think he interned with Howard Stern and ESPN while he was a Steeler. Like, they
interning very loose.
Right.
He wasn't exactly living in like the intern quarters at Bristol, Connecticut.
Thought Antonio Pierce interned for
Okay,
Howard
Antonio,
Stern.
that's right. So forgive me. Antonio Pierce also.
Ryan Clark wasn't making coffee runs.
But no, he was at ESPN. I think he just conflated two different things.
They both did the same sort of thing. They were still playing football and working at ESPN because they realized, like Draymond Green, there's a bridge to more giant things as spokesman. But I don't want to delay anymore. Is 3.5 minutes enough time, Stugots? Because it doesn't feel like you haven't brought one of these in a while. Do I need to save this for a segment? Because we got plenty of football to talk about.
You should probably save it for a segment. That's fine. Yeah.
All right, then we can get into the Minnesota Wild.
Oh, nice.
And exactly how that might have turned their season. Wow. If I'm a free agent upcoming, if I'm Sam Reinhart, I say, wait a second, what they got cooking up there in Minnesota?
All right, let's do this because we're about to have a national story on our hands, all right? Stugatz, I don't want to underplay this. I know our audience doesn't want Panthers hockey talk, but it's coming here for an extended run because the Panthers are in position to have President's Cup to be the best team in the league.
You don't want that.
Yeah, you don't want it. I would avoid it.
It's cursed. Although they are playing a style right now that is more conducive to playoff success. They are co-favorites for the Stanley Cup along with Edmonton, who the Florida Panthers have beaten along the way. Huge potential Stanley Cup Finals preview tonight in Dallas.
I don't think you can get Billy and Tony interested.
What are you talking about? I'm a credentialed covering hockey member of the journalism community.
That's Roy. That's not you.
I was at the Stanley Cup final last year, tweeting right alongside Roy. Some people said Roy stole my tweets. Some people.
Tony, are they going to be able to? Because
No.
What?
No.
Why not?
These players have been here for such a long time. They are a true competitor.
It's fun.
It's really fun.
Yeah, I don't know.
You
don't like fun?
I'm giving you a reason to feel invested. We're saying these names. Look, I don't want to come out here and talk about Panthers hockey every day. I do it because I care about this market, and I care about you. I want you to be invested because this is your best shot
Ekblad.
at a championship. This one right here. It's not even Inter Miami.
Sam Reiner.
It's this team.
Inter Miami we'll talk about in a second. I wonder if Greg Cody has ripped them for sitting all their stars against Montreal because I'm guessing he's impatient.
No, I didn't, and I wouldn't because that was a game that they could have won without him, and it's early in the season and all that, and they were unbeaten in the first 3 games. My concern with the Herons, I love using that nickname, is that Messi is going to be spread out so thin by all these competitions, Copa America, Leagues Cup, Paris Olympics, they're going to want him to play
You get 40% of Messi, it's good enough.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's
Not
very
if you
Pay
light.
for 100% of Messi.
Yeah.
You do have to save his
right.
legs, and they prioritize the CONCACAF Champions League tie against Nashville.
Right.
They got a great result on the road, a tough place to play. 2-2. Luis Suarez, who many people wrote off, scored a 95th-minute equalizer, and they decided MLS, that's more of a marathon. We just want to make the playoffs in that sport. We got to save Messi's legs. We'll give him a break against Montreal. Came back to bite them, but that's the math that you do. That's a winnable game without him.
Having Messi is a financial bonanza. It's 100% a great signing. Don't get me wrong. But in my mind, there is a likelihood that they're not going to win an MLS Cup with Messi. And the reason for that is that there are so many other leagues that they're playing in the middle of MLS season.
It's a business play. It's a marketing play.
Got to keep the main thing the main thing, Dan. Right, Greg?
It's to me, the MLS Cup
This is the new and improved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugots. Gamble on by DraftKings.
Before we onboard Pablo Torre finds out. Always interesting, relentlessly interesting. Every episode, it's hard to do that. Not a lot of people are doing that. Podcast space, very crowded. I would urge you to listen to Pablo Torre Finds Out because every last episode is something that has been more curious and interesting and thorough than most things, almost all things I've seen in this space. Before I do that, though, Greg Cody blew through the hard net workout and still had opinions on Messi that he had not gotten off. He wants 100% of Messi's time, even though I'm saying he's here for 40% of him, builds soccer in America, teams up with Apple, makes soccer matter in Miami, makes people interested in MLS, grows the sport, and is a marketing deal at the end of his career.
But Greg is right. They paid for 100% of his time and his attention.
I would say they paid to get their money back in marketing him correctly to build the sport that makes them charge twice the ticket sells. It's a rock band. Man, look, can we please stop with the integrity of I've got to win sports because that's what matters. Messi wants to win at business here, and 40% of him is what Apple in the U.S. and Miami will get. And Hong Kong will complain when he doesn't play there in a friendly, but this part of his career is him making money at this time in his career, and also he's the best.
Yeah, and he's still winning. Soccer is different. You have several opportunities to win hardware. He did so in winning the League's Cup, the inaugural League's Cup, brought the first trophy to Inter Miami last year, and they're telling you by not playing him against Montreal while MLS and the MLS Cup is important, and clearly Greg Cody feels like it's the most important here. Yeah. Let's have a chance to win Club World Cup as the representative from this qualifying region, where you can actually have a semifinal on a neutral site, and you could see the likes of Inter Miami playing the likes of Real Madrid for something of note.
Financial windfall, no argument there. But
that's all that matters, you understand?
I disagree.
I mean, if they're gouging their season ticket holders so much that Mike can't afford to go to the games, it's all that matters. That's how they're keeping score.
Gouging is all that matters.
You can keep score differently if you want to be romantic about it, but you've seen soccer fail all over that patch of land 50 years living down here.
Right.
50 years you've seen soccer fail. This isn't going to fail if they can gouge the fans.
As long as Messi's here and has stars around him. What about 5 years from now?
Well, 5 years from now, the entire stadium is going to be fully underwater.
Well, there you go.
When you say the best, are you saying the best ever? Messi. I mean, Pele would like to have a word.
If
Jesus.
If Miami does
best
not,
ever.
If they don't win an MLS Cup with Messi, part of his time here will be considered a disappointment.
Agreed.
You really care so much about MLS Cup. You think it's got that much prestige.
That's the league he's playing
Who's
in.
the reigning champion?
That's the league he's supposedly.
Who's the reigning champion?
He's not here for
Is
a
it
quiz,
New York?
Mike.
It wasn't
I'm
us.
not going to take
Greg,
a
the
quiz.
answer is it wasn't us. It
I'm
wasn't
not going
us.
to take a quiz.
Okay, if the reigning champion was
not
Inter,
New York.
was Inter Miami, I would know it.
That's
Because
right.
of Messi.
But it wasn't.
right about
Yes,
that.
yeah.
He is right about that. Maybe. I don't know. Pablo, go ahead. You wanted to get in.
I was about to defend Greg before that sequence happened. I was about to say that we need more Gregs, that the MLS needs more Gregs, because that MLS, no article, excuse me, I'm already exposing myself as a poser who's not really a fan of MLS. MLS needs more Gregs because if you just sort of take it and you're like, yes, Leo Messi's just doing like the equivalent of an extended cameo video from a celebrity for the city of Miami and for soccer in America, all of this is even sadder.
Which
you
is
just need someone
which
to
is what it
pretend
is,
like
Pablo,
it is.
Pablo, but it's what it is. Come on. It's what it is.
He has all of the power. He has all of the power, and you're lucky for a second of his time is the reality. And he knows that economically. He knows that culturally. He knows that in every possible way. And so Greg saying, actually, how dare you disrespect this Sweet 16 party is both sad but also necessary for anyone to say.
All I'm saying is that if they don't win an MLS Cup with Messi, that segment of his time here is going to be seen as disappointing. It's as simple as that. They have to win the league he came here to play in and save soccer in America and grow soccer in America.
But what if they're the best team in all of CONCACAF?
Then
And
they
go
win-
on to the Club
What does
World
that
Cup.
mean?
Okay, then they win. Then they cash $5 million.
Just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it doesn't mean something.
But in Greg's defense, like if Messi doesn't care about the MLS and Inter Miami doesn't care about winning the
does.
MLS, why should I?
He does. You just got to pick and choose. There's fewer CONCACAF Champions Leagues games. You got to. They already got a buy in that competition. God, I really don't want to have to explain this all over.
Well, no,
again,
let me interrupt you because
Didn't they win their IST?
put it on the
basically?
poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Does it
Technically,
mean
there's 3 IST.
When they won
too
all of
many.
them, right?
There is.
I think they opted out of the
Soccer's
US
confusing.
Open Cup.
At least
Not
3.
UTI, Pablo.
this is a uniquely right now? I think all over the globe, there are a million Stugotz spawning in politics and anywhere because when Mike Ryan says, "Does it mean something if Stugotz doesn't know about it?" You fool, Mike Ryan. No, nothing means anything unless it only fits within the framework of where Stugotz's ignorance
I see my
resides.
time
Thank
to
you,
the.
Dan.
I see my time to the representative from New York. We've
Okay.
already wasted his time.
Yes, we have. And Pablo Torre finds out. I will tell the audience again. Pablo, what is it that you've got coming up in this episode? Because I think one of the things that's most special about the podcast is that you can't really tell where the next one's going to end up. And if we just follow your curiosities, you're going to thoroughly report them in a way that's vigorous. It's why the voice of the show is special and different than most that are out there.
No, I appreciate that sincerely. That's actually what I'm going for. Dan always insults my shows. This one, he doesn't insult. That is the compliment that I take more than any of the specifics that he's just given me. So in this episode, I want to ask the room, actually, what do the words total request live mean to any of you? I'd like Greg to weigh in. I'd like the shipping container who's already responding to that title to weigh in. What do we got?
I think of it as a nostalgic Carson Daly time of like, growing up in pop culture.
I think of my childhood every day when I get home from school. See where the Backstreet Boys are. See where Britney's at. Just my childhood nostalgia is what I think of.
Greg, do you know what we're talking about?
I am familiar with the phrase, but I would not have associated it with anyone or.
Do you know what it
anything in particular.
is? Do you know?
It doesn't sound like you're associated with it.
I mean, I assume it's like you request a video on MTV or something. I don't know.
So I'll explain this because for Greg, this is the MLS Cup, it turns out, which is disturbing to me. But for everybody else in America, this was the show that determined music and music sales and popularity of music in America. And so TRL came on right after school let out every weekday. It was a phenomenon. And it was the place where people would not just request, Greg, they would vote. And so this was a democracy. It was the foremost electoral mechanism in America to determine what's cool, what's popular. And so we're doing a story today that is not a sports story. It's the first one we've done that is actually not even sports, but it's about the rigging of the vote of Total Request Live, sparked by computer hackers, a chain letter. If you remember what chain letters were in the AOL days, Dan is still on AOL. He's still maybe forwarding chain letters of like, if you don't forward this, you're gonna break your back. You're bad things will happen to your family, like the threat. Chain letters.
A 1-800-Flowers ad, the way I used to do it. Yes,
yes, exactly. Dan Le Batard will be waiting in a closet, there to jump out at you with a knife if you don't forward this email. And there is a movement to put the uncoolest band in 1999 at the top of the charts. And the uncoolest band in 1999, which was the era of NSYNC being the apex predator, the Backstreet Boys, as Chris mentioned, was New Kids on the Block. If you remember New Kids on the Block, they were the old boy band. They committed the cardinal sin of being now the old kids. And there was this movement to hack the vote. And so we report the untold story of what happens when the first internet movement that tries to make a mockery of internet elections in the way that, by the way, the Louis Brinson movement you guys did, the move to get Zaza Pachulia into the NBA All-Star game, all of these fan voting mechanisms started with TRL, and it started with this hack. And so we solved the question of what happened and who did it and what was the story. And it's shocking to me and my childhood what we discovered, because it went a lot bigger than what we anticipated.
Pablo, did you get into it all how Tom Green and his fans essentially successfully did that? Not with a hack, just by actual voting, and then MTV ran into a problem where they upset all of the record companies and they forced his song to be retired to not piss off the Backstreet Boys.
So I fell into the rabbit hole on seeing like who was in there, who were the characters. Tom Green absolutely was one of these people. This is not a Tom Green story, but I obviously am familiar with that, Billy. Likewise, like the people who would come on to TRL. Like, I want people to understand, because I'm worried about now how old I am here. I'm 38, and this is where Eminem, Mariah Carey, everybody, the former artist known as an unlitigated against P. Diddy was there. Like, everybody was showing up, everybody in music. And so the thing about galvanizing the vote was the promise. They gave power to kids, to young people in a way that no one else was doing in America at the time. And so that was Tom Green in that way. But that is by far not the biggest story of how democracy was manipulated.
One of the things that Pablo will explore, I can know this without even knowing exactly where he's headed, is the idea, Stugotz, of this is, I don't know if it's a genesis or ground zero for, like, here is how young people get to influence. You influence them here, they develop influence, and next thing you know, because young people are the ones who make everything popular, young people are consuming twice and 3 times as much of the internet as you are, and the power becomes real, the power of young people. And I'm guessing, if this isn't ground zero for it in pop culture, MTV and a show being popular on MTV, would be it.
No, Dan, this was it. When we talk about why boy bands were popular, it's because of TRL. It's something I didn't appreciate until reporting this story. You went on TRL because that platform at that time, with all of these people voting, moved markets. So NSYNC breaks the single season like it's sports, the single week all-time record for album sales in a week after they go on TRL.
You're very excited about it. No one else here is.
I am.
No one else. I can see no one else here is.
Can you find out what happened to Dave Holmes of Say What Karaoke?
Dave Holmes, Billy, I am proud to announce, is the protagonist of this story.
What?
Talk to Dave Holmes. He is in this episode. Yes.
Wow.
All right, Pablo, you've aged out. You've aged out. You're doing
I feel
a story.
Like Greg.
No, but you're
like
doing
Greg.
a story
Thank
about
you.
young people, and Tony has no idea what you're talking about.
Tony,
no idea what you're talking about.
I was locked in
How
on
old were you?
PTI as a kid. In 1999, I was 8 years old. My bad.
Can Pablo Torre find out why we're not talking about football?
Pablo's old. Thank you. You know what, Stugotz? You know what, Stugotz? Thank you.
Yeah.
Pablo. Yeah. Pablo Torre. Come on. TRL, Pablo. We got football.
I will listen.
Football. Stugotz was during the break muttering under his breath, and I don't know what the tension is exactly between Pablo and God Bless Football, but God Bless Football is just as award-winning as Pablo Torre finds out and isn't occupying sort of the same hoity-toity lane. And what Stugotz said as soon as the microphones went off was, why doesn't Pablo Torre find out at an hour other than first thing in the morning?
On the first day of free agency.
Why does he have
with a frenzy going on?
We've got a football frenzy. We're going to stop over here so he can talk about Carson Daly? Like, what are you doing?
Whatever TRL is, Total Request Live, whatever that means.
Thank you, Tony.
What are you doing?
Just the biggest show in American pop culture.
Okay, but pot him down,
Bigger than
please.
the NFL?
Pot
They
him
had to
down.
close
You ever
the,
watch a
the like
Super Bowl?
hurricane
Times
shutters.
Square got shut down.
Yes.
Thousands of girls were flooding Times Square in control of American capitalism and culture and what was cool. And you're like, oh, Chris Jones.
No, if
Chris
we want
Jones,
no,
maybe. Let's
no,
do that.
If
Good
we
signing.
If we wanted to find out what you are finding out, we would have been over there finding out about it. You went on and on about it, and if people want to know more about it, they can listen to Pablo Torre Finds Out. We've got football to talk about. Do you have something to contribute on the football front?
Chris Jones.
All
Good
right.
signing.
All right, get out of
Jesus.
here.
Can you do an episode on the Minnesota Wild pulling their goalie in overtime?
Yeah, find out
And
why.
Rule 84-2.
I like the
NHL
idea of
rule book.
Pablo finding out rules we don't know. I do.
Did
like
you know that this
Yes.
rule existed? That if you pull your goalie in overtime in the NHL, you run the risk of losing the point that you would have gained in losing a game in overtime.
Mike, go sit in the penalty box.
Oh wow!
Have you guys
Go
ever
sit
heard
in
of
the penalty
Vanessa
box.
2 minutes for
Lachey?
talking hockey?
Like, get out of
Vanessa
here.
Lachey.
Love is
Vanessa
blind,
Lachey.
right?
Out.
Did
Part
you find out
Filipino.
about that rule when it happened?
Mike Ryan, out.
Did you find out about that rule when it happened?
Out, Mike
Did
Ryan.
you find out about that rule when it happened?
I'm tired of you and this entire subject matter. Stop it, please.
Guess where she met Nick Lachey and they had an affair? TRL.
Really?
Wow, how
There
about
it
that?
is.
Thank
Maybe,
you.
All roads.
allegedly, not 100% sure, but she used to work for Vanessa Manillo before and Nick Lachey. And
Stugotz,
Vanilla.
without them, we
Filipino
wouldn't have
name.
Love is Blind today, Dan.
Billy,
TRL.
okay, I want to know what's
Good
going
point.
on with you and Pablo Torre Finds Out because you guys occupy different lanes, and Stugotz has occasionally spit things in the direction of after the Pablo segment that I recognize as has some acid on it, even though we're all friends here.
Are we, though?
Are we, though?
Okay,
I
thanks
feel
for
like
the help, guys.
Stugotz took a lie detector test once in which it was revealed that he didn't want me to join this company.
That's true.
That is true.
I asked that
You know.
question. I regretted that.
Yep.
Just like you regretted now.
Well, I don't think Pablo. I think Pablo likes Stugotz, right? Pablo, do you like Stugotz?
I love Stugotz.
And I love Pablo.
Stugotz.
Less certain about that one.
Stugotz tried to get me to co-host a show with him that we recently found out about on Pablo Torre Finds Out.
Yeah.
That was an episode
listen to
last
this.
week.
I'm sorry. Forgive
Yes.
me. The last episode of Pablo Torre
Should've
Finds
happened.
Out. I forgot to talk about this. Please, Stugotz. I learned for the first time that this is news to me, that Stugotz had tried to do shows with both Pablo and Mina that he wanted to try and get off the ground.
They were on the rise at the time, I figured jump on the bandwagon with them. But yeah, I wanted to do a show with Pablo where he and I wore Velcro suits and we were on a wall that said sports on it and we just stuck to sports. While having sports conversations.
Finally.
I mean, it's funny, man. We had trampolines. We're jumping off trampolines into the board. We stick to the board and we stick to sports.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's more of a bit than a show.
When we talk football, our hands have to be in the dirt. Oh, it was
Oh,
a
what a
beauty.
wonderful
Yes,
idea.
Thank you.
What
That's so
happened?
good.
I don't know.
Did you tell anyone, or was this in your head?
I told Pablo.
Well, it doesn't sound like you told him till last week.
No. This
I,
was Billy.
I
Billy,
learned.
Billy.
No, this is me. The part of the story you're missing is that Stugotz trying to cut all sorts of side deals on rising stars Mina and Pablo, with just coming to them with the idea of I'll jump off a trampoline and stick to something. Pablo, you'll handle the rest, right?
I was just trying to grow the company, Dan. That's
Yeah.
all I was trying to. Team
This
player.
company?
This was before Meadowlark was formed.
Yeah.
This was in 2020, like early.
Grow the company.
If you were to Dan,
Grow
if you
the
were,
company. that
Grow
doesn't exist.
ESPN, right?
Yes, grow ESPN. Grow the company of Stugotz. Grow the company you were keeping with Pablo and Mina.
if you were to go around and ask each person in this building or even in this room, you'd find out that he has side deals with everyone in shows that are in pre-production that, don't actually happen.
Right. Well, just waiting on people to finish their jobs.
What was the one with Mina?
Oh, I have no idea what the show was with Mina. It was just any show with Mina would have worked because she's Mina. I mean,
He fishes by throwing out 70 nets at the same time and hopes that one
Billy,
of them
I'd
drags
say the
in
best way to fish.
Yep.
thank
So
you.
we were on a
Pass
Zoom
the wide
call.
one, Tone.
It was not a Zoom call because Zoom wasn't a thing. It was a call. It was a conference call. It was me, Stugotz, and Charlie Kravitz,
Yeah.
who was going to produce Stick to Sports.
That's right. It's Charlie's fault. He never got it done. Right.
Yeah. God, I'm glad you remembered him
Yes.
in all of his importance to this enterprise. And the call began with what Stugotz just said, and then it somehow went on for another 45 minutes, and I don't remember what the rest of it was because all I remember was trampolines, Velcro suit, Stick to Sports, and everything else. I was
Hand in
like,
dirt.
That's all you
how are we
needed.
still on the phone?
Right.
Are you jumping face first into Velcro and then talking into a wall? I'm
Yeah,
trying to
good
imagine how that
question.
would work.
You remember
That's
those
how
little,
you think that would go.
Remember those little balls? Like it was a dartboard, and you would just throw the ball and it
No,
would
we
stick to
get
the
that. We
dartboard. Right.
get
I would
that.
jump off a trampoline and stick to a wall that said sports on it.
All right,
Okay.
And we'd stick to
Yeah.
sports.
We got that. That's not
It
the
was a
part that
way
we're
to do a
confused
show with
by.
Pablo where he had to talk about sports.
It's a brilliant idea.
Not
Patent it.
only is it brilliant, like all of Stugotz's ideas, it's blatantly stolen. David Letterman did this many years before
He stuck to sports.
on television. No, he stuck to a Velcro wall jumping off of a trampoline, and it didn't stick to just sports. But
We're good then.
The funniest part of this is that Stugotz basically has that as the germ of the idea, and the name of the rest of the show would be, and you guys will do the rest, right? Like, I'm coming to you. This is my intellectual.
I'm just sticking to sports,
This is
Dan.
my intellectual property. The joke I've got in 2024 is
There you
I
go.
stick to sports.
I've
You
gotten
all
a text
three.
from 3 different people saying we've got a golf show in the works, and none of them are aware of the other golf show that are in the works.
Chris and I are getting to it.
None of them were from Chris.
We've actually done one.
Oh, Pablo, you sent me a nice video. I'm now looking back at the group chat that we had. You sent me a nice video of a guy jumping off a trampoline into a wall of sports. I mean, look at this, Dan.
Is it Letterman?
It's Letterman, yes.
Okay.
It is a
Thief.
Video currently on the DraftKings Network.
Swipe
You
your
show.
idea.
Yes, it is a simple thievery, but I just can't believe that that's the only idea you came to an hour meeting with. Like, and
Well,
yet-
no, the
Oh,
dirt
another-
one.
Whoa,
The dirt-
whoa. Hand in the
another
dirt.
great side note. Another great side note from this group chat that I'm revisiting is Stugotz spelling Charlie's name wrong, somehow spelling it Charley.
I did that.
Yeah, it should be.
Well played
Yeah.
by you.
Right.
He probably thought it was Charlie Hume also. Different Charlies.
football. Do you have anything to offer us on football? Nothing. Chris Jones is all you've got.
Oh, you're talking to me again?
Oh, get him out
Want
of
me
here.
to actually
get
stick
him
to
out of here.
sports?
Just get him out of here. I don't want to see his face anymore.
I didn't sign up
Just
for
get
this.
out of here. Just get out of here. Pablo
TRL,
Torre.
though.
Pablo
I've
Torre
picked.
finds out. If you want to know anything about Pablo Torre, finds out his curiosities. Put them over there. Football. Let's get back to football. We've Mike Ryan has blessedly been out of the room, no longer talking about the Minnesota Wild. So, what were the interesting things to the Dookie, the Duke of football, 4th ranked according internationally, according to Britain's leading daily.
Oh, you want some winners and losers, Dan? Is that what you're
Yes,
asking
yes.
for?
I've got him.
Yes,
I
please.
have a big loser. We can do Stugotz's because I have one big loser yesterday. Justin Fields. Big
Why is
loser
there no
yesterday.
market for him? Why is there no market for him?
People don't think he's good.
No, he's good, man. Like, if you put him in the right spots, he's good. The problem is everybody wants to get somebody cheaper, I guess. Like,
Why is there not a good market for him? It's like someone explain to me if the economy of the position I'm not understanding. If we're going to go right between, if we're going to live in this space between the running back is totally disposable and the running back is totally disposable, but the quarterback's not disposable at all. And Lamar Jackson, I can figure out an offense that makes him the MVP. And Justin Fields, wow, maybe not as accurate as I'd like, but seems to be in the space between running back and quarterback, and I don't need a running back anymore. I don't have to pay a running back anymore. Maybe Baltimore will get Derrick Henry, but they played without a running back because the position is being played by 2 people. You get value at the position. You explain to me if I've got any of this wrong. Do you think I have any of this wrong?
Well, I think with Justin Fields, the problem for him is, and maybe there's a market now in Minnesota or maybe elsewhere. We'll see what else happens. But the quarterbacks in this year's draft, and you have a bunch of teams who are going to take a quarterback in this year's draft, they can get a quarterback on the cheap that they think might be better than Justin Fields. You're going to have to eventually pay Justin Fields. So I think that's why the market has shrunk.
But
on him.
eventually pay is not paying him this year.
Well, if you can get him, and everything is relative in the market, right? Like the Dolphins are now going to try to get Tua for a Kirk Cousins type contract, okay? And if Baker Mayfield is making $33 million a year, then that should be a starting point for signing Justin Fields. He's worth it.
Can you guys walk me down the path, please, of Kirk Cousins, one playoff victory in his career, $330 million of guaranteed football money coming off of an injury? Just explain to me how one of those is value and the other one is not.
Do you guys remember Joey Fatone? He's in this episode. Joey Fatone in his prime, 99 Fatone.
Get out of here.
He has a hot dog chain
How
now,
do
right?
I-
Called Fat Ones.
Yes.
Fat one.
Brisker Patrick.
Wait a minute. I told you the first time I discovered him was on MTV. I didn't know who that was, and it said Fatone, but they used the graphic where they put parentheses around the one, and I'm like, why would they call the boy band member Joey Fat One? Like they're going that simplistic on the objectification of boy bands that it's just
Little
gonna
on
be,
the nose
this guy's
for
the
him.
fat one.
It is kind of like how when someone has the last name, that is exactly what their job is.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of like
Bob
that.
Racecar.
Pablo tricked you, Dan.
He did. Get out of here.
He sucked you back
Get
in.
out of here. I don't know why he's still here.
1999.
I don't. Kirk Cousins. Someone explain it to me. Tony.
He's really good, Dan.
No.
That's the explanation. He is a good quarterback.
he's not that
That's why
good.
he's going to be making $330 million in his career.
Hall of Famer.
He's a great businessman. He is not a great quarterback.
No, he
Greg,
is.
did you say Justin
Hall of
Fields?
Famer?
No, no,
Time
no.
out. Billy thinks
No.
he's the first
No,
ballot
he's
Hall of
going
Famer.
Kirk
No,
Cousins.
that was-
Hold
yeah,
on.
Billy thinks
He's
he's
doing
the first
Cousins.
ballot.
Kirk Cousins is a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Okay, I'm looking up his stats right now.
What?
I'm not saying that having looked up his stats.
What?
More
Kirk
yardage than
Cousins
Aikman.
is not a Hall of Famer. Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Is Kirk Cousins a Hall of Famer?
Okay,
Get
hang
out of
on.
here. He's a Hall of Famer.
He's an excellent
Yeah.
quarterback, not a Hall of Famer.
Did Greg say Justin Fields is as good as Baker Mayfield?
Good completion percentage, good TD interception ratio, big numbers, 1, 2,
I don't-
3,
I
It's not the Hall of Good.
I don't
4 All-Star or
Well
Pro
said.
Bowls.
Too many conversations at the same time. I still want to know, is Justin Fields good?
Should we revisit the 2021 NFL draft?
Is Justin Fields good?
Yes.
Yes,
would sign
maybe,
him.
no.
I demand an answer.
The league is telling you no.
You can't sit that out.
I would